What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Absolutely a Gamble. This is the 2025 season-long prop bets. 2024, I got 6 out of 10 correctly. 2023, I got 7 out of 10 correctly. So 2025, let's try and get it to 7 plus. I'm trying to get at least 8 this year, and I have very, very strong faith in all 10 of the bets that I chose. My theme for 2025 is going to be the same as it was for 24 and 2023. It's follow the good offensive coordinators. Wherever there's a good offensive coordinator and there's good offensive players, there's a really good chance for good offensive explosions, and those are the offenses that I target the most. With that being said, my first bet is going to be Patrick Mahomes over 27.5 passing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes has had a little bit of a down season the last 2 seasons, and the Chiefs have relied heavily on their defense for good reason. They have some great defenders there, and they have Steve Spagnuolo there as well. So they've let the defense handle the bulk of the work, and the offense has done just enough for them to win as many close games as they did. And they made it to 3, Super Bowls in a row without having Patrick Mahomes be Super Patrick Mahomes. And this offseason, the Patrick Mahomes slander is getting out of hand. And I don't think that Patrick has been taking that, lightly. I think just like Brady, Patrick is going to use all of the noise from this offseason to make a point next season for him to ball out and have one of the best seasons that he's had in his career. And that's a lot because some of Patrick Mahomes' best seasons have been pretty incredible. But I think that 27.5 touchdowns is way too low for a guy like that with a guy like Andy Reid. They've added upgrades to their O-line. They have a good wide receiver room now. They have upgrades. Rashee Rice, his suspension is going to come later in the season, so that means at least for the first few weeks, Patrick is probably going to light it up with Rashee. They have Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown. Kelsey has slimmed down. They have Noah Gray. Pacheco is back and he's healthy, so he could be a factor in a passing game. Kareem Hunt too. So they have a plethora of weapons, and I think that 28 touchdowns is actually very low for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who has thrown for 40 plus in seasons past. So I think that's a great bet. Next up, we have Justin Herbert and Greg Roman in that Chargers offense. Justin Herbert's passing prop is at 3,650.5 yards. And I think that that's incredibly low. This is Justin Herbert's second year in the Greg Roman system. And last year, he threw for 3,875 yards or something like that. So I don't really understand why the prop line for this year is worse, given that he's gotten upgrades in the wide receiver room. They drafted a couple of guys. The Rashawn Slater injury is gonna be a bit of a hit to them, but they have Joe Alt, who they switched over to the left side, and I think that the rest of their line is going to do a really good job. And I think with Harbaugh as the head coach, I don't think he's gonna allow that unit to fall off. So because of that, the second year in the system is usually when players take a jump. That's what happened with Lamar Jackson when he was in Greg Roman's system. So I expect the same kind of jump from Justin Herbert. 3,651 yards is too low for a guy like Justin Herbert and an offense that's, although it is run heavy, there's a lot of play action, so it gives Justin Herbert an opportunity for chunk plays and a lot of big plays. Keenan Allen came back. You still got Ladd McConkey. You've got Will Dissly at tight end. They drafted Godson. They have Lambert Smith. They have Trey Harris. They have a plethora of weapons over there. And I think that the second year in the system will be amazing for Justin Herbert. One of my favorite coordinators this year in a new location is Ben Johnson in Chicago. Now, Ben Johnson is going to do something for Caleb that Caleb did not have his first year in the NFL. And that is that Ben Johnson is going to draw up a lot of layups for Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams has shown ever since college, when he was at Oklahoma first, and then when he transferred to USC, that when he has a capable play caller, that he can, do some real damage. Because if you give Caleb Williams layups, he will make the layups, sprinkled in with an occasional big play, with an occasional wow play here and there. And last year, Caleb Williams threw for 3,541 yards with a horrible coaching staff. So just the improvement in the coaching room alone should be enough to get him, 95 more passing yards than he had last year. And last year was probably just as bad as it's going to get. So because of that, I'm trusting in the offensive coordinator. I'm trusting in the fact that they revamped the O-line and they got him plenty of help. And they also drafted him more weapons on top of the weapons that he already had. So I think that that is a very, very low number for him as well. And I could easily see him shattering past that. I could see him throwing for 4,000 yards this season. Like that, that's the kind of difference that I think Ben Johnson is going to make for that Bears offense. Last year, CeeDee Lamb had 1,195 receiving yards in an offense where he didn't have Dak Prescott for the back end of the season. I believe he had Dak Prescott for 8 or 10 games. I'm not sure what the exact number was. But this year, his receiving prop is at 1,175 and a half yards, which is kind of strange to me because if he can post 1,197 yards with backups at quarterback, why wouldn't he be able to post more than 1,100 yards with Dak Prescott? The last time we saw CeeDee and Dak Prescott healthy and on the field together, CeeDee Lamb went scorched earth, and Dak gave him every opportunity, every chance he could. And I think that he's going to go right back to that this season. I think CeeDee is going to get force-fed. I think CeeDee is going to get close to 200 targets this year. I think CeeDee is going to ball out. 1,175 and a half yards is way too low for a premier talent like CeeDee Lamb. I'm taking that bet 10 out of 10 times. I think a subplot of my picks this year too has been, if they did it last year, why are we assuming that they can't do it again, especially if some of their situations have improved? And with that, my next bet is Drake London over 1,025 and a half receiving yards. Last year, Drake London had 1,100 plus receiving yards, and he started coming on very strong towards the back end when Michael Penix took over. Michael Penix is the quarterback one. He has that job 100%. He is going to start day one, and he is likely starting for the whole season unless he somehow gets hurt. Drake London is Michael Penix's favorite target. And we've seen what Michael Penix can do with a guy he trusts. And we saw him in college do it with Rome Odunze, where Rome put up those crazy numbers. And there's nothing in my mind that says that Drake London can't be that exact same receiver. Drake London has the size, speed, awareness, hands. Drake London is an elite wide receiver. Drake London is my pick this year to finish as the number one wide receiver, as the wide receiver one overall in fantasy this year. And it's because of Michael Penix. Michael Penix is going to give him chances. He's going to give him opportunities. Michael Penix is going to let it rip. And because of that, I can see Drake London as a guy who gets 1,300, 1,400, 1,500 receiving yards, especially in the division that they're playing in. They don't really have a lot of good corners there. So, I can see Drake London feasting for this entire season. My next bet, of course, I had to throw one of my guys in there. Got to represent for the shoe, of course, is Jonathan Taylor over 1,200 and a half rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor smashed this number last year. I took him last year when they had him at 1,075 or something like that, and he smashed it. He ran for over 1,400 yards, of course, because Jonathan Taylor is like that. He is an elite runner of the football. He has elite vision, breakaway speed. I think he has underrated hands, but we're not talking about receiving yards here. We're only talking about rushing. As a pure runner, I think Jonathan Taylor is only second to Derrick Henry in the NFL. He used to be third, in my opinion, to Nick Chubb, but I don't think Nick Chubb is the same kind of guy. But anyway, Jonathan Taylor over 1,200 and a half rushing yards. I think there are multiple ways that this can hit. One, because AR, I think, is going to be the starting quarterback for week one, AR's rushing ability opens up extra lanes for Jonathan Taylor. And if the linebackers don't react quickly enough, Jonathan Taylor could easily take it 65, 70, 80 yards to the house. So I think that'll help him a lot. I think he'll have a lot of explosive runs this year. Two, if God forbid something were to happen to Jonathan Taylor and Daniel Jones were to be the starting quarterback, then I think that would help Jonathan Taylor even more, because then Jonathan Taylor would probably get 30, 35 touches a game. I don't think that we would put the game in Daniel Jones's hands at all, or let him throw the ball 35 to 40 times a game. So I think that, in a run-heavy scheme like Shane Steichen's, with the linemen that we have, And the fact that our revamped defense is going to keep us in a lot of games this year, a lot of close games, I think the positive run script, is going to be great for this team. And because of that, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to obliterate 1,200 yards. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get 1,200 yards in his sleep. He's going to come out the gate and automatically rush for 1,200 yards. I believe that 100%. My next bet is one I'm taking just because of the fact that Pete Carroll is now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll brought in Chip Kelly to run his offense. Pete Carroll is a guy who I would trust with everything that I have to rebuild a franchise, to rebuild an organization, to get them on the right track. And I think that this Raiders team is poised to be competitive. I don't think that they'll win a crazy amount of games his first year, but I do think that they'll be in a lot of scrappy games. I do think their defense has enough pieces to fight you tooth and nail, just like how Pete Carroll likes. And I think that they're going to want to establish the run with Chip Kelly. So because of that, I'm taking Ashton Jeanty over 1,075.5 rushing yards. Ashton Jeanty is a top 5 pick. The history with top 5 picks, especially at running backs, is that those guys get a ton of carries. Those guys get force-fed. Those guys are going to get every single touch imaginable. And with the Raiders having a decent O-line, it's not terrible. It's not, anything spectacular in my opinion, but I do think they have some strong guys up front. And I think that with 300-plus carries or 300-plus touches, I think Ashton Jeanty is going to crack 1,000 yards easily. I think that 1,075.5 is probably way too low for him. Ashton Jeanty could be a guy that gets like 1,200 rushing yards as a rookie. He's that type of talent. He has a great quarterback too, which is going to create some opportunities for him. Like, I don't think Geno is an elite quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's a very capable veteran. I think he's a guy who's going to get them in a lot of scoring opportunities. He's going to make the right plays, the smart plays, and I think their offense is going to be really, really fun to watch. So because of that, I am definitely taking Ashton Jeanty over 1,075.5 rushing yards. My next bet is the New Orleans Saints under 5.5 wins. I think the New Orleans Saints are tanking. I think they're doing a soft tank. They have a new head coach. They have a new DC. They lost a bunch of pieces on their O-line, which they're probably not going to be able to replace. They're in salary cap hell as we speak. And they drafted Tyler Shuck in the second round. They could have drafted Shador. They could have drafted a few other guys that I think has a better upside than Tyler Shuck. I think that they're going to struggle to win games. I don't think their defense is really good. I think their offense is going to be like a patchwork offense. I think they're going to struggle to score points at least early. But I know for sure that later on in the year, it's going to be rough for the New Orleans Saints. And I think that every team in their division improved except them. So because of that, I'm willing to bet the under. And I also think that they could end up with a top 5 pick where they let Kellen Moore actually pick the quarterback that he wants, because I don't think that Tyler Shuck is the guy for the future for them. So because of that, Saints under 5.5 wins, one of my best bets. Every single year in the offseason, there's always a team where whenever there's smoke, there's bound to be fire. And sometimes it's a plethora of injuries. Sometimes it's players demanding out. Sometimes it's the leadership losing the locker room and people complaining, people saying stuff about each other that they shouldn't be saying and stuff like that. So I think that this year, that team is the Miami Dolphins. And Tyreek has been a problem since last season. Jalen Ramsey wanted out. They lost pretty much their entire secondary to injuries this offseason. I think their only healthy DB is Minkah Fitzpatrick, who they traded for. I don't think that's good for them. They're losing D linemen. They lost O linemen. Their left tackle retired. So I think that they're fighting an uphill battle. And they're another team where the rest of their division got better, and they were already in a tough division. So I think that they didn't really do much to help themselves. And because of that, I think that they'll have to fight to even get, to their win total. And that is 8.5 wins for the Miami Dolphins. I don't see the Miami Dolphins winning 9 games. I don't see the Miami Dolphins being competitive in 9 games. I just, this might be a situation where Mike McDaniel is a better OC and play caller than he is a head coach. And that's unfortunate, but, these things happen. So because of that, I'm taking Miami Dolphins under 8.5 wins. I think that's a pretty good bet. And I'm also very, very concerned for Tua. My last season-long prop bet, my last, regular season-long prop bet is the Buffalo Bills over 11.5 wins. I think that the Buffalo Bills are a team that you can pencil them in for 10-plus wins every single season. They're going to dominate their division again. So that's out of the 6 games they play in their division, they'll probably win 5. They could potentially win all 6. They'll win at least 4 of them because the teams that are below them, they're not as good as they are. So I don't think that those teams will be able to beat them. Of course, every once in a while, they'll get you'll get like a random Patriots victory or a random Dolphins victory, or you'll win they'll get like a random who's the other team that's in their division? They'll get I don't think the Jets will be able to beat the Bills this year. But, the Bills having a 10-win floor is always the best bet every single year as long as Josh Allen is playing there. They improve their defense. They have Joey Bosa on that side now. They drafted a couple of young guys that should be really solid for them. So I think that them winning 12 games is, possibly a lock. I can see them winning 11. If they don't win 12, they're going to win at least 11. So that's why I think that over 11.5 is a really great bet for them. I can see them being the number 1 seed. I can see them playing the Chiefs again for the AFC this year. And the Buffalo Bills are elite. Follow the coordinators. Follow the good quarterbacks. Follow the good players. Now, this part of the video is the fun stuff. The season-long prop bets that are like long shots, ridiculous odds, huge payouts, but be careful. There's a chance that these bets do not hit. Like last year, I got most of my long shots wrong. The only long shot that I got correctly was Josh Allen MVP, and that was based off of, a very educated guess and, me seeing the stars aligning. So be careful with these bets. Only do sprinkles. Don't put anything ridiculous on them. The first bet that I have, which came close to hitting last year, was the Rams to win the NFC. The Rams were literally literally a few passes away from beating the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl last year. And because of that, I think that the Rams are poised to get right back to that spot and do it again. I think that the Rams have one of the best defenses in the NFC. They upgraded their O-line. They got Devontae Adams at wide receiver. I'm a little worried about Matthew Stafford, but if there's one thing I know for sure, is that a guy like Matthew Stafford in a system like Sean McVay's, he doesn't really need much work or much practice. He knows the system inside and out. So I think that when he gets back onto the field, it might be a little bit of a slow start, but I still think he'll get it done. And with the defense that the Rams have, even if it was Jimmy Garoppolo starting for the first few weeks, I think that once Stafford got back and started balling again, I think the Rams are a top 3 team in the NFC. So that's why I think that at a price like plus 950, it's definitely a great bet to make. And I can definitely see them being one of those teams that are battling for a Super Bowl spot at the end of the season. Next up, I got Mykel Williams from the San Francisco 49ers to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And Defensive Rookie of the Year is usually about opportunity. So it's usually a defender that ends up on a team that already has, plenty of talent, especially at their position. It's usually somebody that's close to the line of scrimmage. So it's usually an edge rusher, or it could be a DB depending on what type of season that they have. But because he's going in a room that already has Nick Bosa on it and a couple of other talented pass rushers, Robert Saleh is coming back. So I think that'll be a huge boost for the 49ers. And Mykel Williams doesn't have to be the man right away. He doesn't have to step in and be the franchise leader on the line. He doesn't have to produce a ridiculous amount for him to be effective. He'll get a few one-on-ones. He'll get some solid matchups. And I think his blend of size, speed, and strength is going to be great for that D-line. And because of that, I think he has a great opportunity to wreak havoc. And the 49ers have one of the easiest schedules this year. I don't really like putting too much stock into strength of schedule from the previous season. But in a situation like the Niners, them having an easy schedule just means that there will be more opportunities for Michael Williams. And there's a real O-line problem in the NFL. So because of that, strong D-lines or D-lines that have multiple good pass rushers or multiple elite players usually thrive. So I think that he's next in line. And at plus 1,100 odds, I think it's a solid sprinkle. After watching a few preseason games from the Colts, I think that Tyler Warren is going to be a huge part of our offense. I think Tyler Warren is going to be like top 3 in receptions or in targets this upcoming season. He's a mismatch nightmare. He works everywhere. He is a great talent. He has great hands. He creates separation. He's huge. He's a physical specimen. And because of that, I don't mind putting, a little sprinkle on him winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. At plus 2,200, I think that that's a great bet. I think that Tyler Warren could easily have a Brock Bowers type of season. He could have a Sam Laporta rookie year type of season. Like, he's that kind of a talent, and he's that kind of a guy. And his strengths work well with one thing that AR does so much better than everybody else on the roster, and that's throwing up the seams. Those seam routes with Tyler Warren, he's going to feast on those routes, and I cannot wait to see it. Whatever Tyler Warren's receiving prop is, I think he's going to blow that out of the water. Tyler Warren could crack 1,000 yards as a rookie. That is exactly how good he is. I love the talent, and I adore the fit. It is going to be fantastic. My Super Bowl pick this year is going to feature 2 teams that I mentioned already, and I think it's going to be the Bills versus Rams. I think that this year might be the year that either someone else takes out Kansas City or the Bills finally get over the hump and they finally beat Kansas City, because they've been so close so often, so many times. I think one of these years it's bound to happen. Like, they're bound to break through. I can see a situation where, like, the Ravens play the Chiefs and the Ravens beat the Chiefs, and then the Ravens lose to the Bills, and that's how the Bills end up in the Super Bowl. And like I said before, if the Rams make a few more passes at the end of that Rams versus Eagles NFC Championship game, the Rams could have been in the Super Bowl last year. So because of that, I think the Bills and the Rams playing in the Super Bowl at plus 4,000 odds is a decently solid bet. I'm not super confident in it. I have yet to get both sides of this right. I think I got one side right last year or the year before that, but getting both sides right is an actual, it's pretty incredible. So, I'm willing to toss a few dollars on something that's plus 4,000. Bills versus Rams are my Super Bowl pick for February 2026. Last but not least, my favorite bet to predict every single season is who is going to win the MVP. Last year, I called Josh Allen. The year before that, I picked Lamar, but I never put the money in for him. And of course, Lamar won the MVP. The year prior to that, I picked Jalen Hurts. And the only reason why Jalen Hurts didn't win MVP was because he was hurt the last few games of the season. But he had a better record than Mahomes, I believe, who won the MVP that year. So I think I have a pretty good beat on at least who's going to be in the conversation at the end of the year. And I think this year, the best value for MVP is Justin Herbert. The most important thing to remember about the MVP race is that it's not always based on stats. As we saw last year, Josh Allen didn't have better stats than Lamar, but Lamar was the one who didn't win MVP. Just like the year prior, when Lamar won it, Lamar didn't have the best stats in the league, but they gave it to him because of the storyline, because of all of the things that happened, all the things that led up to it. You always have to follow the storyline. And I had a feeling they wanted to give Josh Allen an MVP so bad because he's been kept out of the MVP conversation for so long. So this year, the narrative has been that Harbaugh has been talking about getting Justin Herbert to the Hall of Fame. Now, mind you, to get to the Hall of Fame, you need to have, at least some pretty crazy numbers or a pretty crazy career. And so far, Justin Herbert has put up some decent numbers, but he hasn't really done anything where you're like, okay, well, he's a shoo-in Hall of Famer, or he's a lock for Canton. So this year, I think they're going to make a conscious effort to get Justin Herbert at least in the MVP conversation. I think that Harbaugh is going to unleash Herbert a little bit, and Harbaugh is going to let Herbert do what he does best. and that's sling the ball. He's going to let them run it a little bit. He's going to let them get a little bit more active. The weapons, the defense is going to be so much better this year. The run game is going to be a little bit better this year. They have better runners. They have better wide receiver options. And because of that, I think Justin Herbert is talented enough to be in the MVP conversation. But in order for them to be in the MVP conversation, it also means that they have to win a ton of games. I'm not sure that the Chargers are going to win enough games to beat the Chiefs this year and win that division. But I could absolutely see them finishing second in the division and having like 10, 11, possibly 12 wins, with KC having like 13 wins and then the Chargers being right behind them. And if that's the case, if Justin Herbert has enough, very good games, or he has enough like, primetime games where he's putting up ridiculous numbers, or like if he does something like throw for 4,000 yards and things like that, I think that Justin Herbert has enough talent. He's in a great situation and he has enough around him to get him there. My honorable mention for this award is Jaden Daniels, because he too is going to be in the second year in an offense with his coordinator. And I think that will matter a lot. That will make a huge difference. But I am putting my money. I actually put money on both of them. But if I'm going to put pen to paper, my pick is going to be for Justin Herbert to be the MVP of this upcoming season at plus 2,000 odds. Beautiful price. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for riding with me for another season. Let's make 2025 a great one. I'm going to be posting weekly bets and having weekly videos for my favorite, bets of the week. And if I get a perfect week, I'm going to randomly select someone who is a subscriber and I'm going to send them $20, send them a little something. Hopefully that'll encourage more people to subscribe to my channel, get a few more followers, get some more supporters, and have an amazing season. I want to try and give back as much as I possibly can. I want to, encourage people to not be afraid of the gambling community, the gambling aspect of it. You need some discipline, you need a little bit of knowledge, and you need some patience when it comes to gambling. And I think that I've gotten all of that to a point where I can, be successful consistently. So thank you everybody who's riding with me and all the new people who are going to come aboard. Welcome all. Have a great year. Let's have a great one.